Man, what is going on, you guys? Hope you guys are having a blessed day. I know I am. As y'all know, yesterday and a total of 3 days of competition, we had the GC, the Grand Challenge. I made a video on that, some tips and tricks, and as y'all can see, I ended up third, so y'all should check that out. Cool rating of 1846. I feel like this GC was really difficult, actually, in terms of how high the ratings were. Like I know above me was Nails, who actually won the full GC. Shoutouts to him. He had so many games left, right? Like it feels like the skill level was so high. We normally don't even get this high at first place, 1846. This is normally like the threshold at a maximum for first place, and yet we had people nearly at 1900, which is just unbelievable. It kind of shows the skill level when you give people lots of incentive to play, right? I feel like this GC had so much incentive, and just look what came out, right? Like ridiculously high GC ratings. Anyways, number 3, this is the team I used. The rental will also be in the description. It's kind of freaky. I'm really happy with this team. I kind of built this a little bit last second, and I'll show y'all some thoughts on how this came to be. But yeah, this is the team pretty much. Now I think the majority of the idea came from this screenshot, and my 2018 fans will know what this is. This is a 2018 team, David Kotesh, 24th at the World Championships. I really love this team. It played off the idea of speed boosting Blaziken, Mega Blaziken, super high attack stat, and a base sharp with focus sash. And I really liked it because like you lead these two, right? And they can't really do much. It's like if they lead Incineroar, which was legal in this format, they're intimidating you. If they lead Landorus, which was legal in this format, they intimidate you, which will hit the Blaziken. But now they have a +1 base sharp, and I really like that idea with the anti-priority, double flying, terrain control. It was just a really solid team, and I really like this idea. And that's what it came to be in this, right? Where the Rillaboom was the terrain setter, my Archaludon was Zapdos pretty much. King Gambit, of course, we have now over Bisharp. Quaquaval was my Blaziken. Just some, I don't know. I'm really proud of myself for this idea. And as y'all can see, I built this on the 18th, so the GC was like at the 19th. So I'm really happy with how this came out. And yeah, I'm gonna be wondering why Quaquaval. I think this screenshot sums it up pretty much. This was a conversation with Alex Gomez. Shout out to him. He got 4th, I believe, at the GC. Awesome. He's such a good dude. So shout out to him. Check him out. But he asked, why did you use Quaquaval? Pretty much all it was upper hand, and I think the majority of it came from being kind of a little Urshifu. I think in this format, close combat is super strong. Like there's so many good normal types, so many good dark types, so many things that you force Terra with, so many good steel types, of course. And close combat is just such a good move on. You usually use it on Palmot. Other fighting types are Tauros. I didn't see too much Quaquaval though, and I guess my idea was with Quaquaval, you could have used Rain just a little bit. Like the thing is, Aqua Step is pretty weak, but with the Rain boost, there was enough incentive to try to get the +1 kind of win condition board state beside my King Gambit, so that couldn't be intimidated. And if they wanted to intimidate me, I got +1, Terra Dark, all that. I used Iron Head. I think Iron Head was probably the better call. I think this team doesn't have enough to deal with those fairy types. I think getting wall back fairies and stuff would be just too difficult to deal with in end games. I'm happy I put Iron Head on here. Rillaboom was also pretty. I was pretty sold on Rillaboom as this slot. Like it just paired really well with these two. You know, terrain setter, fake out support, U-turn, really bulky, and I really liked Rillaboom in this slot. I was kind of convinced Rillaboom was going to be here from the start. And then it came to the Pelipper and Archaludon mode. I want to do close team sheet stuff. If I'm playing close team sheet, I want to do close team sheet stuff. And one thing I started seeing on the ladder, and I put this in my vid, by the way, my GC1 vid, Choice Scarf Pelipper was kind of blowing up in usage, and it was Jody Azzarelli and Blake who used it. Shout out to them. They used it originally on a different team, pretty similar. And you know, seeing how it was popping up in usage, I was just like, you know, let's kind of take it out for a spin. I think one of the ideas came from I don't know why I remember the weirdest sets. I remember there was this dude in just when I started playing Sword and Shield ladder who would use Yveltal and Kyogre, Scarf Yveltal and Choice Specs Kyogre. The thing is, it would just catch people every time because they just Tailwind and Water Spout, and it's difficult to anticipate, right? Like the first thing you expect is not is Scarf Yveltal clicking Tailwind, and in the same vein, I kind of abuse this fact with Close Team Sheet and Pelipper. One thing I noticed about Pelipper is people are super quick to double Pelipper. Like they'll lead things like, I think Pult Golden Go was quite a common lead into this team. They'd Shadow Ball Dragon Darts trying to catch the Pelipper, and I just Tailwind before they took the KO. And it always felt like the turn I would Tailwind, Pelipper would get KO'd. As if Choice Scarf was not that big of a detriment because it was always getting KO'd anyway, right? That's some things I noticed. This Archaludon was so awesome. I was streaming to some of my friends. Dude, I don't know what the exact calcs are, but this thing will Oko Annihilate with Terra Electro Shot. This thing will Oko Kingambit. It always goes Kingambit. Without Terra, it Oko's Golden Go. It'll KO Dragapult with Terra. What doesn't get KO'd? Like I think everything neutral gets KO'd. I think everything neutral gets KO'd. Except for Porygon 2. I think that might be the only thing that gets KO'd. Like Ferrograph gets KO'd. Everything I can think of gets OKO'd. So what I would do is I would Tailwind, and I would just go after the slot that I think threatens Archaludon more, right? For example, if they led a Fighting type Mon and an Electric type Mon, I'm just going to Tailwind and try to Oko the Fighting type Mon, keep my Archaludon on the board for longer, and get my Pelipper KO'd. Because Pelipper, honestly, getting up Tailwind is like a huge issue on this thing. If you let a Pelipper get up Tailwind, you've done something wrong, right? Except for Scarf, where they weren't expecting it. So that was kind of the game plan, and then I would kind of close up with Quaquaval. Quaquaval was my most common bring as a third, and I'd either bring Rillaboom, who is really solid in the end games. If I noticed they had something like a Archaludon that I'm a little bit worried about, I could bring Pult, who could help with the non-stamina versions. If I noticed that they have a Pulse in the back that I'm worried about, this team is a little bit Pult weak, I would bring my Kingambit. So that's kind of how the game plans were. And when I didn't see enough that Archaludon could do, if I saw a mode or a strategy or something that I didn't feel like Archaludon could easily take an Oko on, like you'll be able to see it, right? I would just switch it up into this kind of mode. I would lead Quaquaval, Kingambit, and just try to get equal trades and clean up with these two in the back. Sometimes I'd bring these guys in the back. I'd very rarely bring the Pelipper Arc in the back. The thing is, you can't really bring in the back because you have Scarf. Like it's a lot harder to play, when your last one has a Scarf. Right? It's much harder to play in that position. So I normally lead with these guys. I feel like one thing about this team is every win I got, I felt like I just destroyed my opponent. Like I'd be up 4 Mons and they wouldn't have even taken a KO. I would have just won on my lead. Or like maybe they KO my Archaludon, but I'm still having my Scarf Pelipper in the other 2 Mons in the back. That's how it felt like every win was, and every loss felt like it was super close, super competitive. They beat me fair and square, to be honest. I had very few games where I was haxed, but it felt like this team was super impressive, and I'm kind of excited to see how, and we'll talk about this later when we get to how this can function in best of 3. I'm really excited to see if Choice Specs 30 is something that can, take off past this, because it was so strong for me. My friends were kind of like, they were crying seeing some of the calcs. Like I was Okoing Amoonguses after I think it was 2 Electro Shots. I was Okoing Amoongus. Like no one, the thing about Close Team Sheet is no one just expects their Pokemon to get popped, right? Like it's one thing to say, just don't let your guy get Electro Shotted, right? But who is expecting their Kingambit to go down in turn 1 from a Tailwind, Terra Electric, Electro Shot? Same with Volcarona. I did this quite a bit. I Tailwind, Terra Electro Shot, and I think my favorite one I have to talk about is in front of Annihilate. Mouse Ape lead was so easy for me because I didn't really have to care if they were Final Gambit, something like that. If they went for Final Gambit, it'd almost always be into my Archaludon, who would then live on Sturdy, take a KO on Mouse Hold, all good, we move on. Or if it was the standard Mouse Ape mode, I'd Tailwind, Terra Electro Shot, and just Oko the Ape while they're trying to side beat up. It's actually really funny. I caught so many people like that. I played some really good players too. I'm really happy with this team. So yeah, let's talk about, I guess I wanted to show y'all a little bit of like how I came here. The original version had an Archaludon on it. Archaludon is really bad. Y'all can see me experimenting with some different ideas. I had Mousehold here, I had Mence here, I had Archaludon here. Eventually I just locked in Pult. I never even tested it. I just felt like I could just see the game plans with Pult, right? Pult lets you get the U-turn into Pelipper plays. Pult pairs really, really well with what I would then put on Quaquaval upper hand. I never felt threatened by Gambit ever, because if I wanted to bring my Dragapult into a Gambit team, I just bring Quaquaval alongside it. I could always just upper hand that slot. And upper hand came up a lot. So yeah, I guess that pretty much sums it up. And I'm gonna do a little segment here. How can we fit this into best of 3? I guess my main one is this Archaludon set. I've seen this in best of 3, but I haven't seen this enough. I think Sturdy, Terra Electric, Electro Shot, Flash Cannon, Draco. I think you can do these 3, whatever 4th move. I think Pulse will be the most common. I've seen Aura Sphere, Snarl sometimes, but yeah. I think these are more likely going to be Timid. On my version, I was able to go Modest because of the Scarf Pelipper. I think Timid, outspeeding the Golden Goes, outspeeding things like that, is probably going to be more common. Other takeaways from the team, I think Quaquaval is a good Pokemon. Like I think it's an interesting CC mon. Like let's talk about CC as a move. I think CC right now is kind of what's carrying a lot of fighting types. It's just super strong. Let's see who gets CC. Sneasler, I'd say carried by CC. This thing always runs CC. Quaquaval, of course, Flamigo, Palma. Like you guys are seeing this, right? Like it's a bunch of mons that are only good because of CC, like Lilligant, right? And I think Quaquaval could be another one on top of that. You know, on top of having actually a really nice ability, or a really nice signature move and ability combo, you have close combat, and then you have things to pick from. I've seen Brave Bird. I don't think this makes too much sense on Sash. You're carrying yourself. I can even see acrobatics if you really want to. This guy gets Ice Spinner. He gets low kick knockoff. I think upper hand and Aqua Jet are probably the best 2 options here. I think Aqua Jet probably better in best of 3. Upper hand better in best of 1, and protects. This guy's really slow. I think there's an argument to be made with Jolly versus Adamant, because he's really slow, but then he doesn't do very much damage. I think Kingambit is probably one of the strongest steel types right now. I think a lot of people are trying too hard to make this thing work with Swords Dance, and I'm ready to say I'm one of them people, because I always felt like, you know, what if I get in a position where I Swords Dance? Like I get y'all, I understand it. I decided to drop it and just go with Iron Head. I think using Kingambit for its damage rather than setting up, it took me a long way, right? Like I'm always one of those players who, oh, I'm gonna fake out Swords Dance. That's how I want to play Kingambit, right? This version of Kingambit just plays the Terra Dark, Counter Cleave, everything, and it felt super strong to play. It felt like I didn't have to, you know, firstly, fear just a fairy type, right? Like I'd be dissuaded from bringing Kingambit just seeing a fairy type on the screen, right? Oh, now I have to Sucker Punch a fairy type. Like that, you don't want that to happen. Iron Head really changes that, and I think having a Protect on Kingambit also changes a lot of matchups. I think one thing I learned from this GC is if there is a question in what your item is, you are at an advantage. I think that's the best way to put it. So if Kingambit normally runs Assault Vest or Black Glasses, if my opponent doesn't know, they're gonna have to play around both, right? So having Protect is really nice, because my opponent could be playing around an Assault Vest Kingambit when I'm just Black Glasses, right? It's in the same vein for Archaludon and stuff. I think for its abilities, it's probably my favorite part, right? My opponent has to play around a Stamina Assault Vest Archaludon just off team preview, right? Because that's what you see when you see Pelipper, right? You have to respect that, and yet I'm not even 30. I'm not even Stamina. I'm not even Assault Vest. I'm Choice Specs, right? I think a lot of GC comes down to is putting doubt in your opponent, right? Like, you want your opponent to see your mon and not be able to know what it does. And Quaquaval was one mon that did that, right? Nobody knows this thing gets upper hand. Nobody's playing around that. Nobody knows exactly what Aqua Step does. Like, you don't really know what this guy does. Nobody knows what item this thing runs, right? Like, I caught many people that invest a lot into one turn trying to OHKO Quaquaval because they didn't think it was Sash, right? I think a lot of mons like that, having as many mons like that, where it's just the uncertainty, I think overall just make your teams better, right? I think the rest of the team was pretty standard. Look, Rillaboom, same set as per usual. Pole, I think there's only one real set, and that's what I ran. But yeah, otherwise, like, I think putting your opponent at the disadvantage by not knowing what you have, not knowing what you're doing, and I think one thing people forget about GC is you have to look from your opponent's point of view, from the way they're looking at your team sheet, right? Like, for me, it might be pretty obvious that this is a Scarf Pelipper, a Choice Specs Archaludon, Sash Quaquaval. That might make sense for me, but my opponent has to respect a bunch of things. Firstly, they don't know where the Assault Vest is. King Yammer runs Assault Vest, Rillaboom runs Assault Vest, and Archaludon runs Assault Vest. So more than likely, they're going to be respecting that, even without me having him, except on Rillaboom. Another thing, without knowing the abilities on Archaludon, they have to respect both abilities. Without knowing the item, they have to respect Assault Vest. Like, you see what I'm saying, right? This also, I noticed something with Pelipper. This thing would get doubled up on so much because everyone thinks this thing is Sash. Everyone thinks this thing is Sash, right? Everyone just doubles up on it. Let me get rid of the Sash Mon, right? They're not gonna care too much if it's a Sash Mon. But Choice Scarf completely flips that. Now you're doubling into a Mon that's moving before you. It's a much different scenario, right? I think using that kind of team building to your advantage, that kind of, I don't know how to explain it, like, just putting uncertainty. I keep saying the word uncertainty. I think that's the only way I can put it. Putting uncertainty into your team building on team preview will only make your team stronger, right? Having a Sash Sneasler on a Rillaboom team is another example, right? I saw this quite a bit. They got me really well because I thought I'm preparing for an unburdened Sneasler that's going to come in and be double speed, so I'm setting up Tailwind. Meanwhile, it's just a Sash one, right? Outside, a lot of people do that. That was a really cool one. Jody as a Rally, he placed really high playing a Population Bomb mouse hold with Scarf Annihilate. That was really good because people thought it was bulk up. So I think using ideas like that and kind of, using Mons to do things that people don't expect. Nobody expects Archaludon to pick up Okos. This thing is the thing that gets set up and then does the damage, right? No one expects it to just get Okos on the team, right? I think that's kind of what carried my GC. Anyways, I guess that's enough babbling. I hope I covered everything. Thanks y'all for watching. Rental in the description, pasting in the description. Thanks y'all for watching.